because they did not have, they were looking at lost people. They were looking at people who were poor. They were looking at people who could not read and who could not understand. And they thought if they could make it understandable, that would be okay. And so I thought, well, how do they do that? And he went into, this is almost 20-some pages that I was reading and talking about translation. And the problem that they had was when you come to a Greek word, as you see this list I've got set before you there, it says, having your conversation honest among the Gentiles, that whereas they speak against you as evildoers, they may by your good works, which they shall behold, glorify God in the day of your visitation. I also learned that it's not necessary. So I need a Greek word. So what they had to determine, what language is people using today that they may understand. And they went through all this process, and that's how. Here, let me give you verse 12. Live such good lives among the pagans that though they accuse you of doing wrong, they may see your good deeds and glorify God on the day that He visited you. And I'm looking at that verse and I'm saying, does that say the same thing that the King James is saying? Is that saying the same thing? And then another verse says, your conduct among the surrounding peoples in your different countries should always be good and right, so that although they may in the usual way slander you as evildoers, yet when disaster comes, they may glorify God when they see how well you conduct yourself. And so, as you know, for the last 20 years, I have tried to understand the Bible word by word. Word by word. So if you notice that's how I want to do it expositionally. And the first word that we use, behold, I exhort, it says, having your conversation honest, having your conversation. And I thought, well, okay, behavior. Having, or to keep, having, and I found out that another word for that is keep. It literally means hold. It's a present tense, calls for an attitude or a habitual way of life, continually holding your outward behavior excellent. Having your conversation. And the word conversation, in the modern day thinking, when I'm saying having a conversation, can I have a conversation with you, Richard? You'll say, well, sure. When are you going to come over and do it? So the word conversation was a well-known understanding when it was written, but the connotation is it means your behavior. Let your behavior, which would include a conversation today, it means to literally hold your outward behavior excellent. Your behavior, your conversation. It means one's way of life, our conduct. You focus on your daily behavior. It means a man's whole conduct, not simply his talk. It means more than talk. It means behavior. It means how you act, how you walk, how you move around. Your behavior is very important to the context that this verse means. It means to conduct or behave oneself, to walk. And it refers here to the physical act of walking, but to act of determining our course of conduct and the carrying out of that determined course of action. You walk on purpose. You walk according to the exhortation that God has said for you to walk in holiness. You're to walk in holiness. You're to walk in holiness. Your behavior and your conduct and your conversation is to be holy. And there's a reason for that as we get into this. It means, biblically, used as the moral and spiritual aspect of one's manner of life is in view. It means our spiritual aspect. It's a process of development in the meaning. It means is that it is turning about in a place, going back and forth, there about one's business. It's how you go back and forth in business. How you come and you go in your life. When you get up in the morning, when you go to bed at night, what you do in between. Your conduct and your conversation and your behavior is to be holy, which is the context of what Paul and Peter are saying in verses 1 through 10. Practicing holiness, because we are holy. Then the next word, it talks about honest. It means not a vain conversation. The word refers to excellent. 1 Peter 1:18. It is a good walk, does not make us pious, but we must first be pious and believe before we attempt to lead a good course. We first need to be holy before we can walk a life holy. It conveys the meaning of good, with emphasis on that which is beautiful and handsome and excellent and surpassing and precious. When's the last time someone said to you, she is beautiful?
I had a customer tell me yesterday that I was beautiful.
I wonder what she meant by that.
Because I just took time and asked about her health and was just, concerned. And, she just talked and she said, you are such a beautiful lady. And I knew she wasn't talking about my face, And I was like,
handsome.
Wow.
Excellent.
That was cool.
Surpassing. The world needs to see you as beautiful, as excellent, as surpassing, as precious, as commendable, as admirable. I looked these words up. Inherently excellent, or intrinsically good, providing some special and superior benefits. That is the characteristic of a person that's Christian. So when they see you, oh no, here they come. No, that's not what they should be saying. Not the world. That is not what they are to be attracted to. A classic usage was originally a descriptive of outward form and so meant beautiful. When in a sense, when the world sees you, what is the first impression they get when they see you is going to determine how they are going to respond to what you say. As I said one time before, I was at PNC and I got out of the car and here comes this guy. He looked like he was a hobo with alcohol in one hand and a cigarette in the other hand. He came up to me and he said, "Brother, I want to ask you, are you a Christian?" And I thought, if that's what a Christian is, I don't want anything to do with it. Your outward behavior has a lot to do with a message that you are going to present to a lost world.
Amen.
Are you commendable? Does your life commend the glory of God? A similar word, as we look at this, it's called intrinsic goodness. Romans 12:17. Intrinsic goodness. Paul uses the term in Romans 12, exterior goodness. Our goodness that is seen on the exterior of a person, the outward expression of an inward goodness. An outward expression of an inward goodness. The outward expression of our beauty and our in excellence, precious, is because we are holy on the inside, and holiness is pushing its way outside. What's on the inside is pushing out on the outside. I know I have gone overboard on dress. I know I've got addicted. I'm sorry. But I discovered that it hadn't paid off yet for church, but I have discovered that when I walk into some place, they say, "Are you a lawyer? Are you a doctor? Are you a judge?" "No, I am a preacher." And they'll say, "Really? You must not be a contemporary preacher." Isn't it interesting that God's men want to look like the world and contemporary? And I think that when I sit at the bank or when I go to the doctor's office or if I go somewhere, I can talk about the Lord. When I came back from Macy's, coming out of the room, and there's a man sitting there in a wheelchair, and I said, "Isn't the Lord good today?" He looked at me and he says, "If there's a Lord, He should be good today." And I think I could have had an opportunity to sit down with him and talk with him because he responded to me for what he saw outwardly. Since we're in the United States, if we was in Africa, we'd dress different, I'm sure. Exterior goodness, which is beautiful, fair, and virtuous, is necessary because what we do as Christians is observed by those around us. And it is important that our conduct, which is open to the eyes of everybody, brings honor to our God and corresponds to our profession. For an example, we encounter two different words, inward and outward, in 1 Timothy chapter 5 and verse 10. 1 Timothy chapter 5 and verse 10. 1 Timothy 5:10.